my name is Molley Williams. I'm the flagship project manager of FP5. That's the flagship project within Europe's Rail covering the freight part. And after I present, it will be my dear colleague Gernot Hans talking about a little bit more details about standardization activities. So can we go maybe one slide? Sorry? The green one. Okay, not to make mistakes. Perfect. So I will speed up a little bit, not talk too much about myself, but when I talk about FP5, what are actually our objectives? I mean, such a project, we must have some objectives, right? So if you think about the freight sector and what we want to achieve is first a higher throughput and shorter transportation duration. And of course, therefore, we need to have certain technologies, and the central technology that we are working in within Flagship Project 5 is the development of the dock, and of course it needs to be harmonized, it needs to be scalable, and of course it needs to be a whole system working in the rail freight business. But that's not the only technology, of course, that we are focusing on. It's also about digital yard automation, because as you see today, we talked about digitalization, automatization, and it's not only about the train on the tracks, but also on the yard, of course. Then when we talk about the workforce actually, and I mean it's not a new topic for you, not for me, we are facing demographic change. Yeah, so the average age within the workforce is increasing, and we can use automation and digitalization in order to mitigate the risk that comes with that. For me, one of the most important points, however, is that we need to maximize flexibility, then maximize the reliability of our whole freight system. Because when you see we are competing with the road system, and of course the truck can run anytime. Yeah, it's very easy to order freight via trucks, and this is what we are competing with, and that's what we need to improve here. And of course, if we do all of that, we need to do stuff like this. We need to gain awareness. We need to, of course, demonstrate that it works. We need to disseminate, and we need to talk about it. So you know the saying, do good, talk about it, and this is actually what we need to do as well, and this is what we are going to do with large-scale demonstrators. Having said all of that, actually, you could say, well, Molley, these are very nice objectives, but why are you actually doing this? Well, we are facing, each economy wants to grow, right? So we want to increase, or we need to increase capacity, productivity, and efficiency, especially if we know that the average age is increasing, everybody is competing to get actually a workforce. It's a very hard battle, and this is why we need to have a change. And of course also, and this is written in a bunch of papers from the European Commission and European Union, of course we want to secure and further develop the European, or the position of Europe in the world in the overall economy. So economic growth is one thing. The other thing that I already mentioned, and that's for me also a big why we are actually doing this, is the demographic change. I mean, I do not know who actually knows how a freight train works and how it's assembled, but if you just think about it, the average train length is about 750 meters, yeah, then there's one man, it's mostly man work doing these jobs, yeah, so he's coupling the trains, it's very hard work, and then he works 750 meters, checks everything, and then he works back, and this is like more or less, this is his day, and this is something, a job that not everybody likes to do anymore, and this is something we would like to change, yeah, so really to make also the freight service or the freight sector more attractive. But of course, at the end of the day, it's about money, right? So financial and political pressure. Yeah, you saw the crisis, 2008, now we had the COVID crisis, and that's why we need change. We need to be resilient, we need to be flexible, and that's a big pressure we are facing as well. And last but definitely not least is the climate change that we are facing, and we heard a lot of colleagues talking about that the rail freight is green, it needs to be greener, and of course that's why we need to, or we want to, have the freight sector as the central element in the overall logistics chain. So if I could summarize it like in one sentence, like very nice, yeah, you could say establish rail freight as backbone of the lowest emission and most resilient logistics chain in Europe, fulfilling the end customer requirements. Wow. But in order to achieve that, there's a lot of work to be done. Yeah, it starts with developing the technology. It starts, and then of course you need to standardize, you need to bring the people together, because also what we've heard today is, I mean, one person cannot change the world alone. We need to work together, we need to do it together, and that's why we have this flagship project 5, or the overall Europe's Rail. So we want to demonstrate digital interoperability, but of course, and this is something for me which is very important, we need to revoke the causality between economic growth and pollution. And this is something we can do with digitalization and automatization. So there was a lot of buzzwords now. When we look at what we want to achieve and also how we actually want to do it, so we have in the flagship project, it's a 95 million project of total project cost, split in 2 work streams. So you have the first work stream, it's the seamless part, where it's more about connecting the different transport modes, connecting the actors. And the central part is the development of the digital automatic coupler, and it's part of the full digital freight train operations. We are connecting 71 project partners all over Europe. And really the goal, and this is something we heard today as well, is to really increase the model split, or the share of freight transport in Europe to 30% by 2023, and it's even 50% until 2050, sorry. So to go a little bit more into detail, when we look at the 2 clusters, there are certain technologies that we are really working on. I mean, I say we, I'm just the guy talking about it, the others are really working. So we have the digital automatic coupler, and there I have to say it's all about mechanics, it's about pneumatics, and there also, because we're talking about standardization here, yeah, the standardization process there is a little bit more advanced, because they're working on the European Duct Delivery Program for quite a while. However, and as my colleague will talk about it a little bit more into detail, when we talk about the energy and the communication system, this is kind of a new field where there's no, I mean, he knows better than I do, but where we need to really speed up, and where we need to do more or less new work. And if we have the energy and communication system, then we can apply train functions. And you're all looking at me, okay, what is he actually talking about? But it's when we talk about a digital automatic coupler, it's not only about coupling. The digital part is about the automatic brake test, automatic uncoupling, knowing where the train is. So it's about telematics. It's about a bunch of train functions. So you could say the DAC, the digital automatic coupler, is like the iPhone. And then you have a bunch of apps, and these are the train functions to make the train or the wagons dumb steel, so to say, with the coupler and with the sensors. You make it intelligent. And therefore, of course, at the end of the day, it needs to be safe, it needs to be secure, and that's why we are here today. And if you have that, and then I'm more or less almost done, if you have that, you can integrate the intelligent freight train into the overall multimodal logistics chain, and that's why we have the seamless part. This means we connect different transport modes, we connect the trains across borders, and also we connect across between different actors. So we have a seamless planning, seamless dispatching, seamless integration, so to say. And this is like the heart of our project. Now, if I want to make one step further, you could say, okay, again, Molley, very nice, but what is the actual time plan behind that? So our ultimate goal is to migrate and deploy the digital automatic coupler in 2028. Why? Because there's the new financial framework. So we want to use that chance, of course. It's a window of opportunity. So the flagship project 5 will run roughly until 2026. So we will demonstrate that everything, all of that works in safe, so to say, more or less safe environment. And then there's the most tricky part, where we have then the pre-deployment train, so to say, where we test the whole technology in a commercial in commercial trains. So what has happened so far, just to show you what we've already reached and what are the next steps. So we've chosen a coupler design already in the EDDP. With the, as I said, the specification, sorry, for the e-coupler design are very far advanced. We have the uncoupling system, which is very far advanced, and also, which is, I think, one of the most important points what we have achieved is that, I mean, you could imagine that each yard in every country works somehow differently. And since this year, there's target operational procedures, so an agreement on how the future should look like for operations within Europe. And this is something we have developed in FP5, and this is the base for further specification, requirements, and at the end of the day, also the standardization. So that's the base. So mechanical, pneumatic part, we are far advanced. For the for the communication system, power system, there's still work to do, and I think this is the right part where I could hand over to my colleague. I hope you well understood where we are coming from and where is it going right now with the standard.